Hey everyone, this is Adam Steinberg, co-founder of Breakout Room. Thanks for joining today's webinar and interview. We have Russell Taylor, growth engineer at Lob with us today. Just as some quick background before I introduce Russell, Lob is a startup that provides print and mail APIs that enable companies to basically send print and direct mail as easily as sending emails, which is really incredible. They're a really exciting startup. They've been founded by Y Combinator and First Round Capital, and Russell's going to tell us more about their story today. So Russell, thanks so much for joining the interview today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Excellent. Well, to get started, why don't you tell us how you ended up just connecting with Lob and joining them?
Yeah, sure. I moved up to San Francisco, a software engineer by trade, and yeah, lots of options for software engineers, and was looking around, and Lob definitely caught my eye for a number of reasons. The idea was very, very interesting to me. APIs connecting to the physical world was kind of a really interesting concept for me. And the fact, once I started to wrap my head around the mail industry and what was going on and how archaic it was, it kind of just seemed to fit the idea of, building an API around, such an archaic industry that had been around for, 40 years and really hadn't had much change in those 40 years. And so, I was sold on the idea, and, really great people to work with. And so it was kind of a no-brainer after looking around, a lot of startups, a lot of opportunities here in San Francisco. This one, hit home for me. So
yeah, that's exciting. I love the idea that, what's old is new again. And, I've heard a lot of marketers talking about the idea that, as other channels become saturated, other channels that may have been saturated before open up. So I'm really excited to hear the story behind Lob. So tell us about how Lob got started.
So yeah, we have two founders that started it. And like you said, they went through Y Combinator in 2013. And they came from Amazon and Microsoft, so definitely part of, the tech giants and seeing what was going on. And, Amazon being such an API-centric company, I'm sure sparked a couple ideas along the way. There were both the founders went to school together, so they knew each other from that. I think some of the interesting stories, I hear from them is, they didn't start out with a full-blown API. In the very beginning, it was just a landing page with a web form, and then whenever they'd get a submission, they'd print it out on their home printer and then take it to the post office. So very manual process. Yeah, I'm sure like every company gets started, at first it's manual and then you automate. Right. But the idea, it caught on, and it's 2 years later now. And we have, a full-blown API with probably, 6, 7, we're coming on 8 products now. And we're sending about 1 million pieces of mail a month through our API. So, it's definitely, proven that there's a need for it, there's a want for it. And, we're seeing some really interesting growth over the short time I've been there, 6 months. We've seen some really exponential growth in our volume. And so it's encouraging to know that you're onto something, and people are actually interested in it.
Yeah, you're building something people want. So
yeah.
In the early days, your founders, what was the initial problem they were trying to solve, or the very initial use case?
So I think, like I said, coming from Amazon, I've talked with Leo quite a bit about getting started. And coming from Amazon, everything's an API. Everything, and I think that's how the idea started, that, APIs are on exponential growth around the web. Everything's turning into an API. And I think from there it turned into, what's old and needs a revamp. Mm-hmm. And, that turned into mail. And I think, that's a monumental task if you think about, building an API for such an archaic industry. That's not something, that's not a complete software solution. That's, now we have a whole network of print distributors all over the United States. But to think about that in the beginning was probably a little more daunting. So,
right.
Yeah.
So Yeah, you mentioned the network of printers. What kind of infrastructure was required, once you got out of the doing the manual work of sending the pieces of mail? Like, what infrastructure was required to achieve some type of scale?
Yeah, and so, I mean, that's one of the biggest challenges. Like, there's the software side of it, and a lot of APIs have been built before. Ours is very unique, but the software side of it's almost the easy part. It's the distribution network that's the hard part,
Mhm.
and the machines that we rent and own in various parts of the country. Quality assurance. Our whole goal is to add, as many nodes on the network as possible. So whenever we get a piece of mail, we can once we receive it, it's instantly routed to the closest print shop. So, we're able to get down, the delivery time below most. If you work directly with a print shop in bulk, you're working with somebody local and they're going all over the States, but we're working with, I think we got 20 nodes over the United States right now.
Right.
And so that allows us to route and do a speed and accuracy that, a lot of other shops aren't able to do.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, that's amazing. So walk us through, one of your top use cases, maybe direct mail or something else, but just walk us through, like, from the time I say, I want to use this, what happens?
Yeah. So we have, I'll just name out our main products to start off. We have letters, postcards, checks. We have something called area mail. We have address verification. We have posters, photos, pretty much anything we can get our hands on and print, we're trying out. But by far, our most popular product is postcards. And the most popular use case for that is direct marketing or every door direct mail marketing. The marketing use case and customer acquisition use case is very popular. We are seeing companies that, had no idea that print mail marketing was an option, explore it and use it and see, really impressive conversion rates from, a marketing channel that they, all the tech companies don't assume that mail marketing is something that's an option for them. And we're providing an API that allows them to not only send it scale, but send it a level of customization that they're not able to do with other companies. So if you're working with, a print shop, you're buying 100,000 postcards and they all have the same design and they're all going out at once. So what's interesting with us and what's giving people a lot of success is every postcard is just simple HTML template, and you can customize that postcard with your customer's information. So if you have a data,
So I could customize a postcard the same way I can customize an email with dynamic content anywhere.
Exactly. I mean, comparing it to campaign software like MailChimp and Constant Contact, where you set up templates and you have customized information. It's an exact one-to-one comparison with what we're providing, and even more so because we can set up A/B tests. We can do when we talk to clients, the light goes off in their head. They're like, so wait a minute, we can pull in people's Facebook information and put it on a postcard. And we're like, yeah. They're like, well, what about Twitter? And we're like, yeah, Twitter. They're like, wait, what about LinkedIn? I'm like, yeah, any API or social data you want to hook into, you can on a very customized level, bring in a postcard. One of my favorite examples to talk about is a real estate company. And they've hooked in, I'm not sure where they're getting their triggered data from, but whenever a house goes on the market, they have the address from it and they get a trigger, and they've built software that puts that address into Google Streets. They take a screenshot of the house from the Google Street API, put that on a postcard, put the address, the picture of the house, the people's name, and then they give them an offer on the postcard. And, for somebody to receive something in the mail, it's a picture of their house with all their personal information. I mean, they're killing it as far as, getting, once they implemented that, their sales have gone through the roof. And, that's just one, we're seeing people use it in ways we never even thought were going to get used. And yeah, it's interesting to see because, we're providing a platform and people are building on it in very interesting ways.
If I'm I love the use cases for marketers and for business. So as an individual, maybe someone that just likes to play around with new technologies, what's the best way for me as an individual just to start experimenting with Lob? What's the best use
Yeah,
case?
I mean, one thing we pride ourselves on is our documentation. We're growing and we're building out a lot of resources, but our documentation, we get compliments on all the time. If you just go to our site, we have just tons of examples in pretty much every language, every popular language you're going to want to work with. And I mean, it's simple, like a lot of example requests, but we have, just from your terminal, you can copy and paste the command and you send, a little HTML snippet and a to address, and you have a postcard in the mail, within the day. So yeah, I mean, one of the things we're trying right now is putting together a lot of resources and tutorials. We just did an Instagram integration for our photo API. We're doing invoices and billing integrations. One of our challenges as a company is that people don't know this product exists. There's no search traffic for it. There's a lot of, our job is almost an education process. We have this great product. Once people get on it, they love it and they expand and, they stick around for a really long time, but people aren't searching for it. People don't know what's out there. And so it's kind of our job right now, to educate the community, marketers, and developers that this is actually something that's available. And yeah.
So what I find really fascinating is, are you saying that as an individual with $5 in my pocket, I could actually go dynamically order and print, 5 postcards? I don't have to order 5,000?
So yeah, that's another thing that kind of sets us apart, and it's giving people a big advantage is everything's on demand. So any other print shop you're going to work with, the only way to make it financially feasible is to order bulk. For any sort of marketing or advertising, you're ordering thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands at a time. And maybe you lose all that, maybe you don't, maybe you needed more than you had. With us, everything's on demand. So we bundle everybody's together, so we get that, discounted price from our print network, and we can pass that on demand, like really low price, onto everybody that uses it. So yeah, what makes it so sticky is there's no risk. You can integrate, play around with, and set up. And if you need to send 5, you send 5. If you need to send 1 million, you send 1 million, and you're not paying any more or any less along the way.
Right.
And so I think that, that's a big selling point for us. Everybody else you're going to work with, the old, the archaic print industry, everything's in bulk, everything's, a slow, long ordered process.
Yeah, I looked into this a few years ago, and I just recall that you could get the price on which you had to have a certain quantity, and then also you had to sort by like zip code, and do a number of things, just like a lot of work to get the price down to a reasonable amount. So yeah, this is amazing that you can really take the scale of hundreds and thousands of customers and enable any individual person to come in and have access to that scale. So I'm really fascinated by that.
Yeah.
Do you see other startups or companies building applications on your API?
Say that again, sorry.
Do you see any other startups or companies building applications on top of your API?
Yeah, that's the thing. Direct marketing is a big use case, but we've kind of made a conscious decision not to build front end, GUI intensive applications. We are mainly focusing on simply the API, and so we're encouraging people to build, marketing tools. Marketing is a huge use case for us, and so if somebody wants to build, integrate us for real estate, like very niche specific, we get a lot of real estate companies too. So we're seeing a lot of software companies, they have real estate marketing services, and they really want to add direct mail and physical mail into their product to sell to realtors, and so they would come to us, we could very easily build out some of this software, some of this front end software that you don't need, you don't need a developer to interact with, but we don't want to focus on that. And, we kind of our bread and butter is building the infrastructure and then encouraging people to build on top of that. And that's where we're seeing success. And yeah, that's kind of the direction we've made a very conscious decision to stick with.
Are there any other challenges you want to talk about or share as far as scaling the company or dealing with the infrastructure? I just think it's a really fascinating, online, offline. So anything else you think is interesting as far as challenges you've overcome?
Yeah, I mean, like I touched on the challenge of us marketing ourselves. It's not readily known that this is something out there. I mean, even extremely tech savvy marketers and developers aren't aware that something like this exists. So that's a challenge. But I think like I said, the software side of our companies, not straightforward, but there's a lot of other people who've built APIs before, so we have a lot of people experience and examples to stand on. It's our operations guys that I think are building something that hasn't been built before. It's the network and the nodes that they add. I mean, our operations department's just as big as our engineering department, and those guys are constantly working with, getting these print shops up to speed and making them, almost dragging them into the digital age process. And so, yeah, I think that what sets us apart. Nobody else is building, the print network like we're building it. And that's, those guys constantly have a challenge of getting that and making sure that's perfect, because people, when they send, a request and the postcard magically shows up 4 days later somewhere, it's very, we get a lot of aha moments when people send their first sample. Everybody signs up and then they send themselves a postcard to their house. And when, you just do something from your terminal and it shows up 4 days later, that's a big aha moment for people. So to ensure that consistent, really fast delivery time, that's the challenge for our ops guys that have to be impressed by every day.
Yeah, I can imagine. Wow. So just switching gears for a moment, so Russell, personally for you, I'm curious, what does a growth engineer do?
Yeah, it's a funny term. I'm not gonna lie. It's an interesting title. It could mean a lot of things to a lot of people at a lot of different companies. I mean, I'm a software engineer. I went to school for computer engineering. I've been building web software for a lot of years. But personally, I've always been very entrepreneurial, done a lot of my own side projects. And, for me, it's a combination of being, engineering minded, but also marketing minded. So, using your engineering skills in a way that's going to bring in more users. So, I mean, at the end of the day, my job's to, build the community of developers and, inspire people to come and use the platform. And I'm doing that through my skills as an engineer, as a coder. And, we're, a small and medium-sized company right now. At bigger companies, hundreds and hundreds of people, these people, growth engineers are almost turning into the CMOs and the marketers. Traditional marketing positions aren't, I wouldn't say not relevant, but you need an extremely technical, scientific engineering background to excel in a lot of these, software marketing positions where, it's not just putting up ads on TV and radio anymore. You're digging through, thousands and thousands of database entries to find patterns with your users and, dig out, mine information in a way that's going to help you serve your users better and, build the tools and the products that your people want. I mean, I consider the reason I enjoy, this job title is my job is just to understand users and understand people, and doing that through software is kind of an interesting challenge. So yeah, I think the term growth engineer is it's a very funny term for me, but I love it because I get to use my software skills to understand people better and to understand our users better.
what was the hardest thing in the transition in that middle ground between going from engineer to marketing and growth? And what was the most challenging part of making that transition?
I motivating our engineering department to help our users out. I enjoy it, but I think a lot of software engineers do software because they enjoy the code more than the people. And so I see my job as we have an enormous amount of wealth of knowledge in our company, and my job is to kind of extract that knowledge and wealth and share it with our community and our clients in a way that's building, we're learning from them and they're learning from us in a way that we can help them grow their businesses, and then they're helping us, almost like a feedback loop. They're helping us build our products, and by our products getting better, they're building their businesses better.
Right. Yeah, that's great. Great advice for people thinking about making that transition. So Russell, thanks for joining us today. Last question. So what's next for Lob?
So we are, like I said, we're growing very fast. Just in the 6 months I've been there, we've been, adding new clients left and right. We've seen a lot of exponential growth. And right now, we're really, the print and mail industry, we're really focusing on. There's a lot of room for growth there. I mean, the mail industry is a billion dollar industry. Like we could, do very well here for a very long time. But I know we have aspirations higher than that. APIs are, for all intents and purposes, taking over the internet. And so we want to see it grow into, something even bigger for enterprise customers. Whatever you need, credit checks, anything to complement your business, on physical level. We're getting very good at taking the physical world and hooking it up to an API for developers. And so, we're leaving it pretty open-ended. I don't think we're going to pigeonhole ourselves into, only saying we're about one thing. So, yeah. I think we have a lot of potential to do a lot of different things over the years.
Yeah, it's a fascinating mission. Just bridging the gap, building APIs from online to offline is really fascinating. So, yeah, Russell, thanks so much for sharing this story today. Really appreciate it. It's great to hear about your background and also Lob, what they're doing. So excited to see what's next. So thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Russell. Take care, everyone.
Bye.